What is going on, everyone? We are back with, this time, an actual review. Before we get any further, though, please remember, if there's anything you guys want to see earlier, everything comes out a full week early over on the Patreon. Go hit up the Patreon, subscribe to the Patreon, and you'll get videos a week earlier. Now, with that being said, with this episode, as you can see from looking over there, and if you watched the watch along earlier with us, we're reviewing Season 1, Episode 14 of Goosebumps, and it is called It Came From Beneath the Sink, also known as It Came From Beneath the Kitchen Sink. This was directed by David Winning, written by Rick Drew, Billy Brown, and Dan Angel, and is based off of the book It Came From Beneath the Sink, which was number 30 in the Goosebumps line. This specific episode came out February 2nd, 1996, and yeah. So the base of the story is this family moves into this new house roughly within the same neighborhood as where they were before. And the main character is a female named Kat, who her brother has her brother Daniel. His best friend's name is Carlos, and Carlos came over to visit. During the first day that they're in there, they go over to, or the dog goes to the kitchen sink because it senses something underneath there. She goes underneath the kitchen sink, Cat does, and finds this evil-looking sponge that we find out later is called a gruel, but we'll get there. So, as they go through and a bunch of bad things start happening. And eventually, she takes the sponge and buries it in the backyard. Right before she buries it, they find out it's called a gruel. Or, is it before or after? It might be after. But you find out that a gruel is basically like a bad luck sponge. And bad things happen when the gruel is around. Well, they bury it. And upon burying it, it kills a bunch of the grass and stuff around the area where it's buried. So they dig it back up. So she takes it to the school to have a teacher look at it. The teacher's like, yo, it's just a sponge. And she's like, just make sure you put it in the cage when it's done. Please just look into it. And she's like, all right, cool. So they do. And after realizing that the only thing you can do with the gruel, if you give it away, it means bad things happen. So they go back to retrieve it. When they get there, they realize it's not in its cage. As they're starting to look through the classroom to try and find it, the janitor's about to come in, so they hide. When the janitor comes in, it starts cleaning. It's using the sponge as a sponge. And in the process, lights go out because it's a bad luck sponge. He goes to look at the lights and see what's going on. He drops something, bends over to pick it up. As he stands back up, he hits his head on the light box, or the fuse box, knocks him completely out. Kat ends up climbing up on top of the shelf, finds the sponge up top, screams when she sees it, loses her footing, pulls this cabinet with acid over her, almost on top of her. She manages to basically not be squished. However, the sponge soaks up the acid and starts to grow. All of a sudden, the music that the janitor was listening to, which was You Are My Sunshine, is playing out loud through the speakers, and it causes the sponge to shrink. So that's when they realize, hey, it's an evil sponge, so nice things make it weaker. The thing dies, and after it dies, the janitor comes over, or after it dies, the sponge starts to grow again, and Kat starts to sing a completely made-up song. Everybody starts complimenting the sponge, which causes it to shrink. And then eventually, the janitor wakes up, comes over, sprays the fire extinguisher everywhere. And then we transition into the next scene, which is her at home, waking up from sleeping, and the sponge is in a little cage that she made, and she wishes it good morning, hopes it's doing well, puts some headphones around it so that it'll keep it, miserable. So then she goes downstairs. The dog comes back, which the dog ran away early in the episode. Sorry, I didn't mention that. And the dog comes back. They decide they're going to make French toast. Or mom decides she's going to make French toast. She asks Killer, which is the name of the dog, what he brought home with him, and it's a potato. And when she picks it up, it shows its teeth. And I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. However, the potato, they mentioned what it was earlier in the episode, because it was one of the other things where the kid was like, just be thankful it's not a whatever this is. It's a potato with teeth that feeds off of the life force of humans or whatever. So that was the twist ending. It's a fun little twist ending. It implies that some bad things are about to happen. I think it would have been cool for this story to kind of branch off and have its own other little side story, where like this little friend group like hunts down demonic, or I guess they're not demonic, but living being things. I think that'd be really fun. You kind of get that with a show called Erie, Indiana later on, or before this. Erie, Indiana might have came out before this. Either way, Erie, Indiana, good show. Over and above all, I do really like this episode. What does a 9.9 and 8.8 on the side do? Oh, it tells how many U.S. viewers there were. Because there was like 14.1 million viewers for Haunted Mask. And then, like, it doesn't list any of the viewers until it looks like Night at Terror Tower had 8.8 million. And then The Werewolf of Fever Swamp had 9.0 million. It doesn't look like it ever gets back up to that 14.2. Oh, they eventually stopped keeping track of it. That's funny. And interesting. But yeah, so thoroughly loved it. It's a good episode. And strangely enough, guys, we are 3 stories away from being done with Goosebumps Season 1. Again, since we're covering them in just series or stories, there are technically 5 episodes left. The next one is Say Cheese and Die, which is just 1 episode, and then we get 2 episodes of A Night in Terror Tower, and then 2 episodes of The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. So I'm super excited to get to those. Night in Terror Tower is one of my favorites. Say Cheese and Die is one of my favorites. I don't remember much of The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. I can see images in my head of the episode. But Say Cheese and Die might be one of my favorite stories in Goosebumps, period, as well as A Night in Terror Tower. So back-to-back stories. Super excited for those. So yeah, that is going to do it for this review. Again, love the story. Love the twist ending. And I am now super excited to get to Say Cheese and Die, which is the next Goosebumps episode. So, with that being said, love you guys. We'll see you next time.